This is Bobby Conner from Eagles View Ministry. So glad that you would listen to Bobby's leadership lessons today. I want to answer some questions because one of the number one questions I get asked around the world is, when did you start moving in the prophetic? Now, it's going to be a shocking answer, but I promise you it's going to be absolutely the truth. My first experience, my first encounter with Jesus Christ was in my mother's womb. Yes, this is 1943. Now listen, this is the absolute truth. 1943, my dad's in a mental institution from a venereal disease. He's started living wrong, started sleeping around with strange women, caught a venereal disease, and it traveled up his spinal column and got into his brain. He was 37 years old, over 6 feet 4 inches tall, very handsome man. And here's what happened. He's dying a lunatic in an insane asylum. My mother is pregnant with me, and there's my dad. My mother already had 2 children. She had my sister Kay, who is 2 years older than myself, and my brother Glenn, who was 1 year older than myself. But Glenn was born crippled. He was born with crumbling of the hip bones and was unable and not capable of walking when he was young. And so now here I am inside of her belly, 1943. The doctors consult with my mother and say to her, the baby inside your womb will have the same disease that's killing his father. And now this is horrible. This is absolutely terrible. The doctors tell my mother that that I'll have the same disease my father had. And my mother was doing this out of mercy, not out of convenience, she was trying to save me from the pain and the anguish my father was going through. So she takes a coat hanger and she turns it into a hook, inserts it into her womb, and attempts to pull my life out. So help me God. That's the first experience I had with Jesus Christ. He came and covered me with his hand. And you say, oh, that can't happen. Yes, you can find it in the Bible where God covered us in our mother's womb. You can find it in Joshua 1:4. Before I formed in the belly, I knew you. Before you came out of mommy's tummy, I ordained you and sanctified you to be a prophet to the nations. So that was my first encounter with Jesus Christ in my mother's womb. And God protected me from an abortion attempt. As you can see, I was born. And here's my next experience with the Lord. My brother and sister had gone to school. This is the first time I'd ever been left without a sibling to play with. And they've gone to school on a big yellow school bus. I'm by myself. No one to play with. It's nobody my age to play with. And so I'm mad. And so I thought, well, I walked down behind my mother's house, and it seemed like as a little bitty child, about, I guess, maybe 4.5, 5 years old, it seemed like it was miles, but it's actually maybe 400 yards. And I walked down behind my mother's house. This is in East Texas, a big grove of pine trees there. And I lay down on my tummy under one of the trees there, and I put my face in my hands just like this, and I'm mad. Got my lip out. I'm mad because my brother and sister's gone. I don't have anybody to play with. And here's what came out of my mouth. Well, I guess I'll just have to be by myself. That's what I said as a pouting little kid. Suddenly a wind in a field next to us began to blow in circles like this, a strong, strong wind. It traveled all the way across the field, got in the tree above my head, and started spinning around. And a voice, listen to me now, a voice spoke to me out of the wind in the tree and said, no, Bobby, you'll never be by yourself. See? When he said see, the heavens rolled back like a scroll. The heavens, where the birds fly, the heavens rolled back like a scroll, and I saw what appeared to me as a little bitty 5-year-old Texas boy. It looked like horses with their tails and their manes on fire, running back and forth across heaven. And he said, no, you'll never be by yourself. See. And I could see into the heavenlies. And so I thought everybody could do that. So later on that afternoon, I told some little friends I could see into heaven. They mocked me and made fun of me and made light of it. So I said to myself then, as a little 5-year-old boy, I'll never tell anyone I can see into the heavens, but I could. Here's another experience I had that altered our whole life, altered our whole family's life. I'm that little boy again. I'm maybe 6 years old, maybe younger than that, and I'm out in the yard playing. And I'm out there just walking around, playing in the sand, playing in the dirt. We had no cars to play with. We didn't have cell phones to use. We didn't have iPad games. I'm out there playing with a tin can and playing like it's an army truck or something like that. Who knows? But anyway, I start back in the house, and a voice spoke to me. An audible voice out of heaven spoke and said, don't get on that pony. I'm stunned. I'm the only guy out in the yard, and I hear this voice. I'm talking about a strong voice. I'm talking about an audible voice. Said, don't get on that pony. I couldn't move. I was froze just like that. And I'm standing there thinking, what in the world is this? And it spoke to me again, this time very, very audible, it said, don't get on the pony. When I could move, I took off running. Like I told you, my brother at that time was crippled. He was laying in the bed. I jumped in the bed, pulled the cover up over my head, and he goes, what's wrong with you? And I said, don't get on that pony. He said, what pony? I said, I don't know. Don't get on the pony. That sounds kind of like a crazy story. But just after that story, my mother packs my brother's clothes, my clothes in a cardboard box, put some string around it. My Uncle Thurman came in a brand new car. He was a car salesman, and I was excited. We were going to get to go somewhere in a brand new car. So my mother put our little clothes in back in the trunk, closed the trunk. Me and my brother get in the back seat of the car, and we drive off. We drive for hours and hours. It was exciting. We didn't get to go anywhere, and we even stopped at a park and had a little picnic. But I noticed that my mother seemed very sad. But anyway, we drive for a long time, and we drive up to a big gate like a ranch, going into a ranch, and we drive down there, and there's this, they park the car, and here comes a lady leading a pony, a little bitty pony, and she opens the back door, car door, and here's what she says, here, you boys get on the pony. Oh man, me and my brother slid as far as you could away from the door where the pony was and said, no, we're not getting on the pony. We're not getting on the pony. And all of a sudden my mother started crying. She said, no, I can't do it. I won't do it now. Let me fill you in on this. Where my mother had carried my brother and I was up to an orphan's home. And the way that they would take the children away from the parents, they would put them on a pony and ride them around the bend, and the parents could drive off. And boy, but see, I heard a voice. Don't get on that pony. God wants us to be led by His Spirit. He wants us to follow Him. See, our whole family would have been dissolved if it hadn't have been for a little bitty boy out in the front yard hearing the voice of God. And the Bible said, my sheep hear His voice. And God has better plans than we can make for ourselves. And so my mother, she told my uncle, turn this car around and carried us back home. And so that way, a little poor family in Texas got to stay together. But here's what I want to tell you. God's got a plan for you. God has a plan for all of our lives, and God wants to use you in a very unique way. And I'm telling you, God wants you to be a voice for Him. He wants you to be a soul winner. He wants you to be an encourager and one that'll inspire others to greatness. Listen, God's plans for us are better than we can make for ourselves. I want to finish with this verse, Ephesians 3:20 and 21. Now to Him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we could ask or dare to imagine. And I want you to start imagining big things for your life. See yourself as a winner. See yourself as victorious. See yourself as a mighty tool in the hands of a loving God. Okay, so this is Bobby. Thank you for watching Bobby's Leadership Lessons. And remember this, God will speak and we need to follow Him. Thank you again for watching.